Hello, everybody. Today I want to talk about something that's actually been weighing me down a bit. I look around me and I see the number of people that are going to work every day. Everything is seemingly okay on the outside, but when I have the deeper conversations with them, I see that a vast number of people are lonely, are depressed at times, um, are feeling isolated, anxious, overwhelmed. And there's a reason for this. But the reason it weighs down on me so much is because we're living in a society where we almost feel that we have to paint on a smile and we have to put on our big girl pants and go out and prove that we can handle it all, that we're okay all of the time, that we've got this. And it makes me sad because we're pretending. We're not being authentic. We're afraid to be vulnerable. And this is the reason that the levels of depression is the highest that it has ever been on our planet. The suicides is at the highest rate it's ever been in human history. And we can't wear a mask any longer. We can't pretend that it's not happening because it's not just in the past when somebody was depressed, they would withdraw from society and it became evident. But since 2020, when we had the worldwide lockdown, we've become used to living in isolation. So if somebody is on their own, we don't even notice anymore. Whereas before, we'd notice that this one person is isolating. And I think we've disconnected not just from each other, but we've disconnected from ourselves. We don't know who we are and why we're here. And we've also disconnected from a higher power. So I want to touch on this a little bit today, and I want to talk about why I started the YouTube channel called The Love Evolution, and the Facebook group and the LinkedIn groups, all called The Love Evolution. Because we may have heard this before, the answer is always love, but what the hell does that mean? In this world that's rife with war and crime and politicians doing what they're doing to rape our countries, we have to ask, how do we love in this state that the world is in right now? So I want to share with you today what I use as the core in all of my coaching, whether I'm coaching a client one-on-one, whether it's a group session, whether we're doing Becoming a Conscious Millionaire, where we're focusing on money, or we're doing Consciously Creating Epic Relationships, where we're focusing on relationships and love in that atmosphere. Whatever it is, this is a core teaching in all of my coaching. So this is called the map of consciousness or the scale of consciousness or the emotional scale. It has so many names, but it was created by Dr. David Hawkins. And what the scale actually does it takes all of the emotions that we feel and it has calibrated it to a particular frequency. So you'll see right at the bottom of the scale, an emotion like shame calibrates at 20 hertz on the scale, whereas anger calibrates at 150. Acceptance is at 350. Love is at 500 on the scale. Okay, so it shows us that love is a really high frequency. It's a high vibration. So the law of attraction states that like attracts like. And this scale explains that perfectly because if you are angry and you are vibrating at a frequency of 150 hertz on the scale, so that like attracts like means That's the frequency I'm sending out. So I'm going to attract to me exactly those people and those circumstances that are on that frequency. Like attracts like. So if I'm angry, I'm going to attract people that are going to trigger the anger inside of me. I'm going to attract situations to my life that's going to trigger the anger inside of me. Can you see? So we don't want to do that, right? The sad thing is that the majority of the human population is vibrating at a frequency under 200. And you can see on the scale, right? We've got courage at 200, but below that, we've got pride and anger and desire and fear and grief and apathy and guilt. Guilt and blame are the same level at 30 on the scale. So if we are vibrating at those levels, so if someone is depressed, they're going to be somewhere around 50 to 75 on the scale. And now we don't stay at any level, right? So we can use our minds and we can say, I'm willing. I'm willing to take a look at my life. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to realize or understand that the way I've been doing things up until this point in time, the way I think, the beliefs that I have, the emotions that I feel, the actions that I've taken, all my decisions has led me to this point in time. I'm willing to take responsibility for all of that so that I can shift those thoughts, those beliefs, those emotions, those actions, and create a whole new reality for myself. I'm taking responsibility for that. So the moment you do that, you can see willingness on the scale is 310 on the scale. That's an amazing place to be, right? Because you're above the neutral mark. So that's our first goal, is to move above the neutral mark. So why is love always the answer to everything? So if you're in a place where you're feeling lonely, you're feeling disconnected, or you're feeling that I'm here for bigger things, but I don't understand why it's not happening. Maybe financially things are tough. Money comes in, money's leaving just as easily. Um, and it's happening to so many people today, right? So when we focus on the frequency of love, we're raising our frequency to that level. So in other words, we're doing the inner work. We're raising the internal vibration, the frequency. And nobody can decide that but you. You're the only person that determines the frequency at which you are operating. Only you determine that. If we sing, but look at the world, look at the outside, right? Everything all the devastation that is happening, how can I be happy? How can I feel love? The love that I'm talking about here is not a romantic love. It's not the Hollywood kind of love, where two people meet and instantly there's fireworks and they fall in love and they live happily ever after. I'm not talking about that love. The frequency of love here is unconditional love. It means that when you close your eyes and you go within you tap into your heart energy and you start opening up your heart. And let's admit the majority of us have shut down our hearts at some point when we've been hurt a lot. When we feel deep hurt, the first thing we do is we don't want to feel that anymore. So we shut down, we close off. I meet so many people that have been in relationships that didn't work out, and they're so terrified of moving forward and finding a new partner because they're afraid they're going to be hurt again. They're afraid that they're going to repeat the patterns of the relationships they've had before. I work with people that have lost a lot of money, and they're so afraid of taking a risk, taking a chance again, putting themselves out there again in case they fall back into that place where they're in financial struggle again. So when we experience huge challenges in our lives, the biggest mistake we make is that we shut down. We isolate ourselves. And when we do that, when we start blaming ourselves, when we go into a state of shame, can you see how low? Blame is at 30, equal to guilt. Shame is at 20. Okay. So when we're at that level on the emotional scale, we are not going to be creating. We constrict, we become small, we become invisible. This is why we say that when times are tough, nobody's there. It's because when times are tough, our frequency is so low, we are invisible to the people around us. They don't see us. The kind of help and support we need is a much higher frequency. And for us to open up to higher support, we've got to increase our frequency, and only we can do that, right? So when I talk about the love, the frequency of love, the love evolution that I'm talking about, it is about going within ourselves and feeling. When we give ourselves permission to feel pain, yes, I've been hurt. Yes, I went through a really challenging time, and I'm prepared to just feel it. You don't have to feel it for a year. You don't have to feel it for a month. You just have to sit there and feel it. Sometimes it takes half an hour. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes of just simply sitting with that emotion and feeling it. Yes, I experienced that. Can I feel some compassion for myself? Can I accept that this is what happened in my life? And you see, acceptance is at 350 there. So I'm not fighting anymore, right? I'm willing to sit there and feel this. And when I can feel that, then I can get the message from that emotion. I was in a state of anger for so long. I feel this anger right now. I'm not going to act out in anger, but I'm going to allow myself to feel it in a safe environment. I'm at home. I'm in a safe environment. I'm not acting out. I'm just feeling. When we can feel that, that emotion of anger is going to give you the message. It's every emotion is there to give you a message. So when I feel the message coming from that emotion, okay, so anger is usually there because your boundaries were crossed, right? Somebody crossed your boundaries. You had certain expectations, those expectations were not met. Someone was rude to you, someone was cheated on you, somebody lied to you, your boundaries were crossed, right? So that's why we feel anger. So when we can go into it and feel it and we can get the message from the emotion, you'll find that that emotion actually dissipates on its own. There's nothing more you have to do, but you have to sit with it, feel it, get the message. That's all it's there to do. It's there to deliver a message to you. And as soon as you get the message and you say, I see now. So that means I have to have clearer boundaries for myself. In the case of anger, it means that I have to have a standard. Um, there are certain things I will let in, and there are certain things I'm going to say no to. Can you see when you get the message, you take the lesson? And when you take the lesson, you don't need to feel the anger anymore. That emotion dissipates. And every time something dissipates, it creates a space now where we can now choose the emotion we want to tap into. So when we start opening our hearts, we start feeling love. And you can start a simple exercise by thinking of a pet or something in nature, a waterfall, sunrise, beautiful flowers. There may be a person that, a friend, a close friend, or a sibling or a child or somebody that you deeply, deeply love. So you focus your attention on the one thing that you love, and from there you keep tapping into that emotion, tapping into it. So we're not going to stay there forever, but we can, if we can just spend 5 minutes at a time just tapping into that, it's going to raise your frequency to the level of love, right? And then, yes, you go about your day and somebody will cut you off in traffic and you get angry, so your frequency is going to drop. But the more you practice staying at the frequency of love, you'll start seeing that the drops are going to be shorter drops. You're not going to go from love right down to shame. You might fall to desire, fear, but you'll jump back. And each time you practice that, staying at the frequency of love, you'll find that you can stay there for longer and longer periods of time. Now, one person that is vibrating at the frequency of love can impact 750,000 people that are operating at a frequency less than 200. 750,000 people. So can you see that you're not just doing this for yourself? Because at the frequency of love, you're now going to start attracting on that level. You're going to attract people and circumstances and opportunities and all of that coming into your life to change your relationships. It's going to change your sense of worthiness, your self-love. It's going to impact your income. It's going to impact your well-being. Everything is impacted when we can maintain a higher frequency, because it's a message that's going out to all the cells in your body. It's a message that's reprogramming your mind. It's a message that's opening your heart. Can you see it's mental, it's physical, it's emotional, we're taking all of this into consideration. And the more we vibrate at the frequency of love, it's re-establishing our connection with the higher power. So all of this is happening when we tap into the frequency of love. So I want to invite you, if you haven't yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button now. Let's create a movement of people who are now focused on increasing their frequency to the frequency of love. That is the only way we get to impact the world. That is the only way that we will one day end wars, and we will end the crime, and we will end all the disasters that's happening in the world today. It's when we, as a human collective, begin to raise our frequency. Okay, but the decision for this is yours and yours alone. If you don't want to feel isolated anymore, if you don't want to wake up and be completely uncertain about who you are and why you're here, this is the work that we do. Okay, so I'm Cass Naidu. I'm a life transformation coach. And like I said, this is the core of all of my teaching. So whether you want to double your income, or whether you want to create an epic relationship, or whether you want to just feel a strong sense of self-love and worthiness, and whether you want to find out what is my purpose, then set up a free 30-minute session with me. Let's have a chat about where you are, where you want to be in your life. And let's see if something I have to offer can help you, guide you, support you. Because for me, I see so much hope when we make the choice to go within and do the inner work. We can't go out and fix the whole world, but we can start with ourselves. We can raise our own frequency, and we can change our own lives. We can create those epic relationships. We can tap into the frequency of prosperity. We can become love. We can become prosperity. We can become health and well-being. Right? We can do that. And as we do that, we begin to impact all the people in our lives. That is how we serve a greater purpose. It starts with you first. You can't be in a state where you are anxious or depressed or overwhelmed and then try to help other people. It doesn't work like that, right? Because you're going to draw to you only people that are going to agree with that frequency that you're on. You're going to attract more challenges into your life. So if you feel there's a part of you that feels that you are meant for more, you came here and there's a purpose, you don't really know what it is, but you know that there's a greater purpose for you. You know that you are meant to be living a better life, better relationships, more money coming in. If there's a feeling inside of you, then that is your soul tapping you on the shoulder and saying, it's time to wake up to your fullest potential. It's time for you to take responsibility for your own life, right? We can't blame the world for the way it is if we are not, each one of us, taking responsibility for ourselves. All right? So take care, and I will see you in the next video.